Do you ever feel frustrated in understanding your purpose? You've got all these ideas and all these wonderful plans, and yet you don't know how to get it out there. You don't know which direction to go. You don't know which idea to take action on. It feels overwhelming, and all these ideas are flowing through, but you've got so many brilliant ideas that you start doubting which direction to go. Been there, done that. How many of you are in love with so many different avenues in your life and you wonder, well, which one's my purpose? Which one am I supposed to share with the world? And I'm going to invite you into the possibility that you could share all of you with the world. What a concept, right? I know. I used to think that I had to teach this one thing and I had to have my niche in the business market, right? That I could only speak to this thing in the online space and everything else needed to be in a different compartment, in a different box. I couldn't share this piece of my life because it didn't have anything to do with this piece of my life. And the invitation here is that all of it belongs, that all of your ideas are welcome. And yet, we do want a singular focus. But the singular focus is not what you do in the world. The singular focus is you, the essence of who you are, the true expression of who you are. Now, you probably have multiple ideas, and sometimes it might get really overwhelming. So I'm going to give you one little trick that will help. Whether you're using a smartphone or you're a paper person, keep what I call an ideas journal. When we have ideas, sometimes it can get overwhelming because you think you need to take action on all of them. And then the brain just goes, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to get it all done. Ideas aren't always meant to be taken action upon immediately. So if you were to write these ideas down as they came through, you're documenting them, you're kinesthetically moving them out of the brain and onto a piece of paper. That way you can come back to it, but you don't have to keep it within the spinning of your mind. And so it can really release some of that tension and that overwhelm that you might feel when you're full of ideas and full of creative expression and you're not quite sure which direction to go. The other thing to be aware of is that you get to be multifaceted. You are not your career. You are not simply this business person who does this one thing and teaches this one thing. You also have an extraordinary life. And so share that life. Share that life. The way that social media is going in 2023, we need to start sharing the truth of who we are. This bullshit story that we need to be niched and perfect and have all of the right strategies and all of the right words is a lie. People want authenticity. They want to see the truth of who you are, and they want to see you on social media, not this perfected version of you that we used to do in the past. So mess up, make mistakes, go show pictures of you playing with your dog, going to the Harlem Globetrotters, showcase your life to discretion at the point that you're comfortable with. You don't have to put everything out there, but share who you are with the world. Being multifaceted, you get to have all these different passions, but all of these different passions are all directed to one focus, which is who you are. So if you've ever been wondering, what's my purpose? Your purpose is the full expression of you. That's it. Your purpose is not a thing. Your purpose is not a destination. Your purpose is not your career. Your purpose is not your family. Your purpose is an all-encompassing version of the beautiful, wonderful, miraculous version of you. So put that out into the world. When we think about all the different strategies and this, and I could do that, and I could be on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and who knows what else is out there, yes, you can. And there's a lot of different strategies and how to do that. But if you aren't yet in a place of showing up as you, fully in the expression of you, there's no point in learning the strategies. at all. So take a breath, breathe into who you are, and express from there. That's all you got to do. Does it sometimes feel like you can't seem to find your way? That the inspiration just isn't there, or you sometimes feel a little frustrated and wondering, what is it that I even want to do? And my question really to you is, what do you care about? What do you value most? What matters most to you? So often we get caught in this mundane, what I call the lower mind, the 3D mind, the mind that lives in the material world. And that mind is important. I'm not saying death to the ego, like the personal development world loves to say. That is not what I'm saying. But we can get caught there. We can get caught in the trap of thinking that that's all there is. And the invitation here is to remember that we have access to so much more, to what I like to refer to as higher mind or a higher intelligence. And so when you go out into the world and you notice things that you love and that you don't love, and you're receiving all this feedback from the universe, it's important to remember that your lower mind, your ego, we'll call it ego, goes out into the world and sees what it loves and what it doesn't love, and it judges based on past programming. That's what your brain is doing. Your brain is a computer program that has been programmed in specific ways based on your childhood, your upbringing, generational programming, etc., etc. So you've got these belief systems in that lower mind, and that lower mind is designed for one thing and one thing only: to keep you alive. So it's great when that lower mind recognizes there is a car coming at me and I need to move. Keeps you safe. It's great when that lower mind recognizes that you're walking down a dark, scary alley and perhaps you should be on alert, right? But there are certain things in this lifetime, especially now that there's not very many saber-toothed things out there, that invites us to a higher perspective, to the understanding of what we're thinking, and to be to be hyper aware of where our mind is. Are we in that lower mind where the world is a scary, unknown place where nothing is possible and I can only see what I can see? Or am I in a place where I am connected to this higher consciousness, this higher mind, higher self, your guides, God, universe, whatever label you choose to give that? Are you connected to that? And are you wise enough to know the difference? Here's the key. It's easy to get caught in that trap, thinking that your thoughts are actually who you are, and it's simply not true. So awareness is everything. All my students will know I sound like a broken record, but it's true. When you are aware of yourself, when you are aware of the thoughts you're thinking, you can check in and go, okay, wait, is this ego, my lower mind, or is this possibility thinking? Am I expanding into curiosity and wonderment? And maybe there's something I'm not seeing here. And inviting that higher consciousness to come into your experience. As I'm sharing this, I'm reminded of I think it's called the Serenity Prayer. You know, God, grant me the wisdom to accept the things I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change the things I can. I totally botched it in that. But if you know what I'm talking about, it is about having the wisdom of that higher mind to know that there are things that I can change and there are things that I must surrender to. So recognizing that in your experience, that there are things that will come to an end. When you look out into the world, it might feel like the world is coming into entropy and everything's falling apart and there's absolute chaos out there. And oh, dear Lord, we're all doomed. You could choose to think that. Or you could choose to remember and connect to that higher mind and recognize the love and the kindness and the compassion that flows through this world. That we are all connected, that we all belong, and that there is nothing that separates us. We are all in this together. And when we can remember that, then we can remember the wisdom that's available to us just like that. All we need to do is have the wisdom to discern the difference between the lower mind and that mundane material expectation of this is happening, I can see it in front of me, so this must mean that's all that's true, and I'm not safe. Or this is happening in front of me, and this is what I'm perceiving, and I wonder what else could be true. I wonder what else could be possible. What is it that I'm not seeing? And making a decision, a choice, to focus your attention on what you don't see versus what you think you do see. Do you ever feel like you've got imposter syndrome? Like you're out there sharing your wisdom with the world, and yet there's this piece inside of you that goes, who am I to be sharing this? What do I know? I want you to know that it's okay. Take a deep breath and breathe into that and accept that that is true for so many people. So many entrepreneurs that I speak to are wondering if they know enough, wondering if they've actually got it figured out, wondering if, well, but I don't live and breathe it, so who am I to be sharing it? And so it's hard to put yourself out there when you're feeling that deep within your body, right? And yet there's this piece of ambition that just drives you forward. Like you can't stop yourself from doing it, but there's a piece of you that's holding you back. So you're playing like this ping pong game with yourself of, oh, I don't know enough, but I really want to share. And oh, but who am I? But I really want to share. And that can create a lot of anxiety in the body, right? So here's my invitation for that. Whenever I feel that sneaking in, which doesn't happen very often these days, I've done a lot of work around this, and I have done the work around uniting the material and the spiritual experience. And this is the key. This is the key. So I've shared before about how we have this ego mind and we have this higher mind, this connection to this spiritual unseen realm, right? And whether or not you believe in God, whatever you believe in, all of it, it's all the same. It's all the same. If you do not believe in a higher power, then that's okay. Perhaps I'm not the right person for you to be listening to, and that's okay too. But if you've ever thought there's got to be something out there, there's something more, there's definitely, if you've had those intuitive hits, if you've had those moments where, there's something to that, or those synchronicities that just kind of blow your mind a little bit, then you know that there's something else out there. There is this unseen world, and it is scientifically proven that 99.99999% of our reality is this unseen world. And 0.00001% is the reality that we can see with the naked eye. But what we tend to do is, with our ambition and our drive, and I want to get out there and create this business and make money and do the things in the material world, is that we tend to make that 0.0001% everything. It's the only thing that matters. And we forget in our ambition that there is so much more that we don't understand. So it's so important that we bring the unity of those two spaces, the seen and the unseen, together, because that will support you in not feeling like an imposter. It will remind you that you will never know everything, that you will always be learning, that you are always connected to this higher power, and that there is so much that we will never understand. We are children. We are children. And that's not a bad thing. That is a wonderful thing. Remember, if you've ever been around children, if you've ever gone to a playground or you have your own children and you just witness what these children do, they are talking to themselves, they've got imaginary friends, they're oblivious to potential judgments or criticism that might show up around them. We don't criticize them. Like, oh, that's so cute. Look at that childlike wonder. And that's what we're invited to. We are allowed to be ambitious and to be open and curious and to know that the guidance that we are looking for will always arrive for us whenever we need it. That we will always be guided, and we do not have to effort to figure out the how, or to know enough, or to have all the answers. That's not our job. That could create a lot of overwhelm and a lot of, oh crap, I don't know how to do that. And then it creates self-judgment and self-criticism, and it creates imposter syndrome. So what if you were to remember that 99.99999% of what this world you don't know? Isn't that a wonderful thing? That can create curiosity, that can create all sorts of magic when we're willing to lean into it, and when we're willing to unite both the material and the spiritual world. You know, I work with a lot of business coaches and a lot of life coaches and people out there, divine timing coaches, people out there who want to make a difference in the world. And yet I hear this, but I don't like social media. I hate Facebook. I don't want to do this on YouTube. I don't want, it just feels too material and too mundane for me. And I get that. I get that. I used to think that way. And then I came into the realization that if we are to play in God's playground, if we are put here to create in this material experience, then there must be unity. It must all belong. And so with that, I come into divine partnership with Facebook, divine partnership with Google, with YouTube, with TikTok, whatever it is that you're using. All of the above, if that's what you're doing. And you are in relationship with these pieces of technology that can support you in the material world. And you are very connected to that higher power and that unseen world. And then you get to be curious. Facebook changes like 50 times a day. Awesome. I'm so curious. How do I get curious? How do I open myself up to more possibility in what I could do with my relationship with that piece of technology? Instead of, oh man, that stupid thing changed and I don't know what to do. And then I'm not good enough, I don't know enough, and so therefore I can't share. So if you're feeling imposter syndrome, if you're feeling like you don't know enough, I invite you to say, awesome, I don't know, and I am open and curious and ready to learn. What the heck am I even here for? Have you ever asked that question of yourself? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Do you ever feel lost and kind of stuck in trying to figure out your purpose or what you're supposed to be actually doing on this planet? Do you ever have those moments of like existential crisis where you're like, I don't know what's happening? You're not alone. You are not alone. This is a question that gets asked of me time and time again from my students. And the invitation here is to recognize that you came here to play. You came here to play based on who you are, not your labels, not who you think you are, but the true essence of you. When you really come into that essence, when you start to understand that more and more, and all it takes is just curiosity and exploration, self-discovery. Who am I? Just asking yourself that question every day. I don't know that you will ever fully know who you are. I don't think that that's possible because we are limitless beings. But when you remember and you can feel the essence of you, your soul, you can remember that you are limitless, which means you have limitless possibilities, which means that you don't have to narrow it down to just one thing. That I came here to do this. Now, sometimes when we look out into the world, we see people that seem to have it all figured out. And I invite in the invitation, I heard that, when I invite the curiosity of perhaps they don't have it all figured out and they're putting on a facade, or they do have some things figured out, but not all of it, or there's a secret part of them that wants a little bit more or something a little different. Or perhaps they have come into that essence of themselves and they do know and they are fully expressing themselves. But this really comes down to your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your soul. and having a conversation with that relationship every day, all day long, of really being willing to spend time with your essence, with your soul. Because otherwise, what we do is we get overwhelmed by all the obligations and the shoulds and the oughtas and what society has told us the box that we should fit in. And then there's all these choices and all these decisions, and oh my God, now I can't do anything, and now I can't figure out my purpose because I'm so busy living someone else's purpose. When we get really clear with who we are, we can then get really clear with what we want. And we can start to clear out all the clutter of what everyone else thinks we should want. Maybe it's the family, maybe it's the career, maybe it's love, maybe it's kids, maybe it's your health and well-being. We are inundated left, right, and center that you need to drink this green juice and take this supplement, and you need to make sure that before you're 40 as a female, your biological clock is going to tick, so you should have children. You should make sure you've got your 401k or whatever investment that you need to have, and probably should be investing in cryptocurrency. Like, oh my God, when does it stop? And then we flip on some TV channel or something, and then we're inundated with eat McDonald's, drink Coca-Cola, and it just never stops. Drink your green juice, but you'll only feel happy if you drink Coca-Cola too, right? When does it stop? It stops when you come into relationship with yourself and you commit to what you want and who you are, and you lead yourself from that place. When you understand that you belong as a part of the whole, and you are also independent in your choices. You decide what your extraordinary life looks like. Nobody else. Nobody else gets to define what you want, ever. Even though we are inundated with all this noise, you can turn that noise off. You can shut that noise out simply by closing your eyes and coming into your heart. Bringing your mental awareness to your heart creates instant coherence, and then you can start to hear your own voice through the noise. This is a practice. This is something that I work on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day when it's really noisy out there. And it's about developing a relationship. A relationship is not one and done. I don't know about you guys, but I've been in multiple different relationships, had a hard time committing to a significant other. But those relationships required some two-way dialogue, communication, connection, quality time, listening to those love languages, all of those things. Same thing goes with you. So if you want to know who you are and what you want, you need to develop the relationship with you so that you can turn off all the noise, get rid of all that overwhelm, and really understand what the heck you're doing here and why. Does it feel a little bit like the world's gone mad? Does it sometimes feel like when you look outside there, out into the world, that you're like, what the hell is happening? And my question for you is, where are you putting your power? Who are you giving your power to? Are you choosing to own your own power? We'll talk about that. Or are you putting your power in the hands of other authority? Whether it be the media outlets, the news outlets, the government, the healthcare system, the education systems, are you giving your power away? Maybe you're giving your power away to people in your life, people that trigger the hell out of you. I don't know, Uncle Bob at the family dinners. Are you giving your power away? And remembering that when we look out into the outside world, it can sometimes feel really bumpy. It can feel like everything's gone to hell. And, if you look to the news, it's nothing but fear and scarcity, and the financial markets are crashing, and this is going to happen, and all this disease. It's just never ending. It's never ending. And I want to invite in an awareness of the law of evolution versus the law of entropy. They both exist together. We live in an evolutionary universe. We live in a world that is constantly evolving and constantly growing and expanding and evolving. That is the nature of the beast. And so when we hold on to attachments in this material world, we don't want things to fall apart. We don't want things to change, right? That is the human nature, to be attached to what we're perceiving in our material reality. But the one thing that I know to be true is that everything changes. In my 42, I'm dating myself, in my 42 years of experiencing one thing after the next, the death of multiple family members, including my own father at the age of 16, of traveling to different countries, of addiction and abuse and multiple different significant other relationships, you name the bad decision or poor or good decision, whatever you call it, I've probably made it. And in that, the one thing that I have learned more than anything is the art of the pivot, because everything is guaranteed to change. Now, this can be hard for some because we love certain relationships, we love certain experiences, we love certain things in our world, and we don't want them to come to an end. But I bring us back to the awareness that 99.999% of our reality we cannot see, and 0.0001% is our material experience. And once we can perceive it and see it in the material experience, it has now gone into entropy. It is now falling apart. The car you drive, the moment that you bought the car, it started to fall apart. The moment you bought a house, it started to go into entropy and fall apart. The moment that you put money in your bank account, it started to go into entropy and move out. Anything in our material experience goes into entropy and begins to change. So there's no point in being attached to it because it's going to change. That is a guarantee. We come into this human body, that's going to change too. It's whether you believe in aging or not, I'm not really a big believer in age and aging and getting old, but the body does go through change. That is just a fact. And so when we recognize that, we can focus all of our attention and all of our awareness on the evolution instead of the entropy. There is nothing we need to do when it comes to the falling apart of things. We do not need to focus there. We do not need to give it our attention. We don't need to help it fall apart. We don't need to bring in a demolition ball and tear it all down. We can simply redirect our focus to where we're going. That's all we need to do. It's so simple. Easier said than done. I know, because you love the experiences and you love the things and you love what's happening over here that you can see and grasp and hold. But 99.999% possibility is over there. What if you could create more? What if you could create something even better? What if you could create an experience that's so much more amplified than that one? And so when we recognize that the universal truth is things will always change, that when things go into entropy, it can be a bit abrupt. It can feel messy. It can feel like the whole world is falling apart. And we can focus on where we're going and look at the love and the creation and the devotion and the what do we want? And we get to focus all of our awareness there. And that's how we create this new world. That's how we create this unity consciousness place where all of us belong, where the world comes into a happier, healthier version of humanity. So let the mess be a mess. Let it fall apart. There is nothing you need do there. Sometimes that can be challenging when there's bills to pay, there's things you got to get done in your business, and you're looking out into the world going, what the fuck, right? It can feel really hard. I'm currently reading a book by Napoleon Hill, and something that he said really stood out to me. And this is something that I've shared in different versions as I've been teaching and working with business coaches and life coaches. And as I've been reading his book, something stood out to me. He said he has studied thousands, tens of thousands of people who he considered to be successes and failures. And out of all of the people who he deemed as successful, had a moment in their career or in their life where they reached a point of no way out. They reached their limit. They had nothing left. They were burnt out. They were at that point where, oh man, I don't know what else to do. This feels like a mess. It's not working. I don't know what else to do. And the difference between the ones who succeeded and the ones who failed is the ones who succeeded stayed focused and kept going. And the ones who failed said, meh, I guess it's not for me. I must have to go a different direction. The universe must not want me to have it. I promise you, the universe wants you to have what you want. It's where you're focused. Are you focusing on what's not working? Or are you focusing on all the possibility that's on the other side? That will determine your success as an entrepreneur, as a parent, as a human being. So focus, choose your thoughts and your feelings wisely. Think about the evolution, not the entropy. Do you have faith? Do you believe? Like really, 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 really? Or is there a piece of you that still questions and wonders about this unseen world? When you look to the outside world, this 3D reality that we live in, do you find yourself getting caught up in the noise and the chaos and the entropy that's occurring? Or do you devote yourself to coming back to the inside, coming back to within, coming back to who you are, and remembering that there is so much more than meets the eye? When we look outside and we see the world stirring up and the chaos and the anarchy and the war and the shootings and the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it can feel a little daunting. It can feel very depressing, and it can feel like, why are we even bothering? And I hear that, I can feel it. Is that almost a giving up? And here's where we are called to more faith, called to more of the truth of who we are, of remembering that our security and our safety and our stability is an inside job. That when we look to all the technology that's happening out there, all the AI technology, and it feels like robots are taking over our world, it's not true. It's not true. It can feel that way when you don't have faith. And so the invitation here is to choose to devote daily, sometimes multiple times a day, to the inner work, to that connection with who you are. And what do I mean by that? I mean bringing your mental awareness into the heart. If you need to place your hand on your heart to bring more focus there, do that. And breathe. Breathe in love and breathe out anything that's not a match. This is not rocket science. This is not, you need to go sit on a mountain for 6 hours a day and meditate like Buddha. This is not, you need to devote your entire life to service and give all of your resources away to the detriment of your own well-being. You are a wealthy, abundant, beautiful miracle. You've just forgotten. This outside world that we're seeing, full of chaos and scarcity, that the world, the media outlets are perceiving that the world is wrong. We're doing it all wrong. You got to do it this way. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Your safety and security is an inside job, period. If you've ever felt that, oh, but I need to keep that job because I have security there, you are lying to yourself. There is no such thing as job security. There is no such thing as safety in the career, in your workplace. That's not a thing. You get to decide if you're safe or not. You get to decide your own security. And you are your greatest asset in this life. Period. You can think that your 401k or your investments or your house or anything else might be your greatest investment, and it is not, or your greatest asset. It's not true. You are your greatest asset. And so when you look out into the world and you wonder, man, all this AI and all this technology, I mean, how as an entrepreneur, how as a coach, am I going to be able to keep up with that? It's changing so quickly. Everything changes. It feels like Facebook changes twice a day, 50 times a day. How do I keep up? How do I feel safe in this? How do I stay solid in who I am so that I can make a difference in the world? You come within. You feel your safety and security from the inside out, because everything, your entire experience, is a direct reflection of what's happening on the inside. So when you go out into the world, if you see things that are magical and beautiful and wealthy and abundant and prosperous, then you've got an inner landscape that's the same. If you go out into the world and you see chaos and entropy and the world falling apart, you've got an inner landscape that is a bit chaotic, and that's okay. That's okay. But you have a choice. You have a choice. And that choice is up to you. No one can force you to do it. No one can tell you to do it. We can provide you the tools, the how, but you're the one who has to take the leap. You're the one who has to lean into the faith that there is a 99.999% possibility playground. And that what we're seeing over here is in entropy, and that's okay. We are creating something magical and wonderful. We are creating a world full of love and peace and wealth. We are creating a world of kindness and compassion. You just can't see it yet. But if you close your eyes, put your hand on your heart and breathe in love, you can feel it. Put your faith in that.